Welcome back to the Lake Valley map on Railroads Online. Today we are back on the Crystal Lake Railroad. And in my last video, I said that we were going to be getting some more rolling stock to take to the lumber yard and the sawmill. Well, I went ahead and did that after I signed off for that video. And we now have a full rake of the larger bulkhead cars and a full rake of the four-wheel log cars sitting beside our rake of stake cars. And we also have a brand new caboose. So we're going to go ahead and start this video with some switching maneuvers just like we did in the first video. And we're going to get everything sorted so that we can just go ahead and take everything up to the lumber yard for loading at a later point. And then we're going to take some log loads to the sawmill to restock the sawmill. By the end of this video, which is probably going to be a lot shorter than the previous video, we're going to have potentially a second and possibly a third locomotive. It just depends on the amount of money that I can get and the experience level that I have by the end of this video. So before we get started, before I go ahead and start the Montezuma up, I want to go ahead and show you the profile page and the locomotives that I'm potentially going to get by the end of this video. So here is our profile page, and you can see my username up there. You can see my experience level and my current funds. And that is after doing a number of loads to get up to the amount that I needed to buy the rolling stock that you just saw. So we're going to go into the buy menu here, and we're going to take a look at the locomotives that I'm considering getting. Not that one, this one. Now, as I said, this is going to be our second locomotive at the lumber yard. This is going to be both a switcher and a running locomotive for our running sessions, so that we're not stuck with just the Montezuma. Now you're going to see this one performing on our new line later on, and I'll show you the current construction on the new line here in a moment when we take the rolling stock up to the lumber yard. But we're going to be using this locomotive on that line to bring goods to and from the industries that line is going to be servicing. Later on, we're going to be getting a locomotive more properly suited to that line, either this one or this one here. Now, either of these, where is it? There it is. Either of these will work, and they'll have enough tractive effort to be able to haul loads that are needed up and down the mountain. So we're going to go ahead and get into the Montezuma, check everything, make sure it's ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and pull her out of the roundhouse here. I forgot to turn the light on, but that's alright, we'll get to it here in a second. So we are centered on the turntable. I'm going to go ahead and light this up real quick. And we're going to go ahead and get ourselves put onto the line out. In editing my previous video, I did notice that you guys could see this heads-up display and the mouse or the control display. Now there is nothing I can do to turn the latter of those off, but for the most part, it's not really necessary to have them turned off, because they're not really obtrusive and they're really not there all the time. Okay, so it looks like we've got our lines set up to where we can, whoops, I don't need that yet. That you haven't seen that yet. We've got our lines set up to where we can pull out into the main line and back up onto some of this rolling stock. I'm going to go ahead and switch that over to our center line so we can pick up those cars real quick. And then we'll start our switching maneuvers. I'm going to go ahead and skip the water filling today because we don't particularly need it. I'm going to go ahead and wait on that for an episode or two. But in the first video you saw how it worked, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut it out anytime that I need to do it. Now, full disclosure, I am filming this the day after I posted that first video, so I haven't got any comments and don't know what you guys thought of it, and that's perfectly okay. So we're just going to pull out onto the main line here. And I do appreciate any comments that I get. I do appreciate any feedback. So whenever that comes in, if it comes in between now and 2100, you know, it's any time before I die, you know, that's perfectly fine. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and switch into the yard here and pick up the center line. We're wanting the center line first. We're gonna see what we've got going. Now, when I bought these, I did not specifically set them out in any particular order. I just wanted that inner line, the one closest to the freight depot. I wanted that one free for any potential running session that I did before I switched all this stuff out, but I didn't do any. So all you're seeing right here is the running that I'm doing in this series. I haven't done anything besides building since then. And it's been about a week since I filmed that episode. Oh yeah, better turn the brakes off. Yeah, let's just turn all the brakes off while we're at it. And nothing's rolling. Okay, so let's go ahead and get these all connected and sorted into their proper consists. And we're going to do this we're going to do all of this at once to see, you know, just how quickly we can get it done. We're not, however, going to connect up to the caboose until we're ready for it. Okay. Slow her down a bit. Make sure that we got a nice smooth couple here. Okay. Well, it would help if I wouldn't fat finger it. Okay. And we got about 3 more cars in this line to hook up to. Come on. Get it moving. There we go. Okay, now we're hooked up there. We're going to hook up to these three on this outside line, and then we're going to put them into the yard here, because we're only going to need the small cars to begin with, and I don't see a reason that we can't put them into the yard. Now for this, I will need to pull pretty far out in order to get to the switch that I need. So we're going to watch that from back here for a little bit. Okay, we're coming up here to where we need to stop. Go ahead and switch that. There we go. And now we can back up. Okay, here we come up to these three. They probably are close enough that they'll couple in rapid succession. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and just let that happen. Try and keep up with it. And we're there. Okay. So we are not going to hook up to our caboose yet, like I said. But we're going to come up to our switch into the yard, and we're going to back these into the sidings in behind the freight depot here. Now before I started filming this, I went ahead and put a couple of extra sidings over on the logging side of the lumber mill to set our loaded consists so that we could have the smaller cars setting in the yard over by the cordwood. I also, as I said that I would be doing, I also expanded out that yard a little bit so that 6 loaded cars would in fact fill one siding instead of just 5. So that we've got that properly sized out. As the locomotives get bigger and more powerful, we will be able to haul longer consists like this easier. But for now, 6 to 8 cars is a fairly decent sized train, and I don't particularly see a need for anything longer than that. Okay, so our bulkhead cars are going to be going into this third line that I'm walking down, and when we get those all sorted out, we're going to go ahead and take the smaller bulkhead cars by themselves and take them up to the lumber yard. Okay, so I'm just going to break in here real quick and show you guys what's going on. As the sun went down, the weather got markedly worse, and about the only time that I can see anything of what I'm doing is when the lightning sparks up and I get a brief glimpse of where I'm at on the line. For right now, we're about done with our switching maneuvers. We got one more 4-wheel log car to go, and then we'll pick up this rake of bulkhead cars, since that's the next one on the train here, and we'll head up to the lumber yard. Okay, so we're connected there. We got to go detach these three. I just want to make sure. Yep, okay. Go ahead and detach there. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly out right now. So and here it is starting to get light out. We're almost done switching here. I've only got 2 cars left. And like I said, we're gonna go ahead and hook up to this rake of the larger bulkhead cars and take them up to the lumber yard to get them loaded so they're ready to go when we need them. Now, since this one's the last car on this line, we're going to go ahead and set the brake there. None of the brakes on these bulkhead cars here that I'm walking on are on. So we can go ahead and pull forward and pick them up. And then we're going to go ahead and back down on our caboose before we take these up to the lumber yard. It looks like the weather's starting to let up a little bit. Okay, and we are ready to go pick up our caboose. And we're probably going to make this run of empty cars up to the lumber yard a couple of times. I want to take everything that we've got up there except for the stake cars, which actually need to go back to the sawmill. But as we're going up to the lumber yard, you're gonna see the latest addition to the line, which is not yet complete. And I think I'm gonna do a, if not a stream of the building session, then I'm gonna go ahead and record it for the next episode. That way you guys have something more to look at than just me driving trains around. The caboose that we're backing up to currently has a red light above the cupola. Now, the reason I'm using that instead of what may, in this case, be typically used is because that I am using that to denote the end of the train. I don't know 100% if that's what it would be used for prototypically, or if it would be a green or yellow light. If anybody knows that in the comments, feel free to let me know. With that, we are on our way to the lumberyard. Check and make sure all our switches are set. And they are. All right. Now you'll notice this third line over here starts to climb almost immediately after it switches off from the main line here. And that's because that line, which is a series of switchbacks you can see in the distance, climbs at a fairly steady rate up to a set of industries at the top of the mountains that you can see behind it in the background there. Later on, we're going to, once I get the industries set up and the lines to them set up, we're going to go ahead and take a roll on up there and see what all that's about. But for now, all that's really there is the line leading up to the first industry, which is a meat packing plant, and unfortunately that's about as far as I got. So we're going to go ahead and pull up here, and I'm going to detach from this train and run around and push it through. We're going to go ahead and load it now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're actually going to set the brake on this one, which I should probably do from the caboose because we're going to be there anyway, but that's alright. We'll get where we need to go. Okay, so I'm going to pull into this small siding here, and we're going to run around the train. I don't know if I mentioned this in my last episode or not, but these little runarounds are used in places where turntables typically are not found, or there's not enough space to put one in. And in the case of this lumberyard, that is exactly what the problem is. There's just not enough room over in this area to put in a turntable. little bugs talking to us. Must have loaded in. Huh. That's surprising. What's going on here? Huh. I might actually be derailed. These might actually be too far into the ground. Okay. Well, you get your entertainment today. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, it kind of looks like they may be buried. A little too far. Alright, that's okay. We're going to bring it up here. Bring that there. Turn it around. And we're going to go ahead and redo this. There we go. Yeah, okay. So we're going to go ahead and redo this. And now you get to see the building scenario, the building session portion of the video, which I did not intend for today. I might actually be in the wrong spot. There we go. Okay. Fly here. Yeah, I need to move this guy forward again. So you guys get a little bit extra, a little bit something that I wasn't intending to film today. But that's okay, because it's still fun. Still fun to watch, I hope. Okay, now let's go ahead and go back into our building mode here. bring this around. Okay. Go ahead and put that there. And nobody's perfect, so. Put that on a little bit of a hill. Bring it up. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and, whoops, we're going to go ahead and connect those. See, a lot of the times I don't have that issue, but times like that, times like what we just had, are, I think, probably a little bit more entertaining for you guys than they are for me, because I was not planning on recording that. Now let's see if we hooked up or not. I don't think we did. Yep, we did. Okay. So I need to get in. I need to turn the brake off here. Okay. Now, back to our currently scheduled mayhem. Back up. Run around the train. And this should work this time. Yeah, there we go. That's what it should have done. So, we'll go ahead and switch that. Okay. And we'll go ahead and come forward onto the train. And after we get these loaded, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a run around of the caboose again, because typically that would not be an unusual sight to see, would be the caboose actually up near the locomotive, between the locomotive and the consist. Kind of like this, kind of like they are now. However, I'm going to do it in something that's a little more aesthetically pleasing to me. Okay, so we need to move up. Yeah, okay. Come back here. Go up here. And we're going to move forward. We're going to line these two up and load them up. Just the way we did in the last episode with the state cars. Now these easily take far more cargo than those little state cars did, and you can see that if we were to need cordwood at the depot for firewood, we wouldn't need to do more than one train per load, because it would fill that depot. And I've already experimented with this on a multiplayer server. It would fill that depot pretty full, almost to the top. Whoa, Nelly, stop! Thank you. Let's see if I did it. All right, sweet. then I'm actually going to have to back up when these two get loaded so that I can push these into that yard back there. Because I forgot to change the switch. And we don't need another derailment. Okay. And they're just going to go straight back, which is what I want. Oh, nice. Well, we didn't want it, but we got it. Here we go again. Okay. Yeah, we didn't want it, but we got it. Story of my life. Okay, that brake is on. Apparently I wasn't far enough on this line. That brake is off. Let's just go ahead and turn that on. Yeah. Hello. Okay, where did that come from? That's interesting because I didn't... Is that back on or is it off? I thought I had the... Yeah, I thought I had the brakes set on the locomotive. Apparently I didn't. Apparently I didn't. So... we're going to go ahead and finish loading these up. And push them into the center line there so that I can do a quick run around of the caboose. Now hopefully not quite make it. That's okay. Yeah, we will set the brakes. Boy, I'm just full of mistakes today. We're going to go ahead and set the brakes on the locomotive and go and release the brakes on this last car. Okay. Come back up here. Let's get up here so we can actually see. That's the one I want. How far we need to roll. Nope, okay. Oh, that's why. Helps if we go the right direction. Well, the switchbacks in the background aren't exactly the most beautiful thing that I've ever built, but they'll get the job done, and they're on a grade that even the Montezuma could climb fairly easily. It's, with the exception of a couple of small areas, I do believe everything is on a 1% grade, which is why there's so much track there. Had it been a 2% or even a 3% grade, they wouldn't have had to have been nearly the length that they are. And you can see it kind of runs all the way around to the other side of the lumber mill here. So that'll give us quite a run when we get that built. Now personally, I think that all trains should have the caboose on the back end, regardless of the direction that they're going. But that's more often than not the case. And when cabooses are used at all anymore, they could be pretty well anywhere in the consist front, in front of the train, behind the locomotive, or behind the train as a whole. I've even seen some that split the consist in two but those are usually in special cases where there's two trains. And, you know, to be perfectly honest, I've even seen a whole train of cabooses themselves. So it just depends on, you know, what the situation calls for as to where they are and how many of them there are. But typically, you're going to see them at either at the front of the train, behind the locomotive, or behind the entire train. And the reason I'm doing this is because we're going to be pushing the trains as much as we're pulling them. And it would just be easier to have the caboose behind the locomotive rather than having the caboose behind the entire train. And having to switch it out every single time, where we can just do one coupler and that's it. So we're going to go ahead and clear the line so that we can bring the porter out and do the switching maneuvers with the porter, because that's what it's intended for. Now we're good to go ahead and wait right here. So let's go get the porter and switch those two trains to where they need to be, because they are in fact loaded. They need to be over in this little yard here instead of taking up the area in the loading areas, or in one of the loading areas. So we're just going to go ahead and light up our locomotive here. Get it fired up. See where we are on the wood. I think we're out. Yep. Okay. So we should have just enough pressure to get over there, but the boiler being cold, we have no steam built up. So we'll do what we can to get over there without using too much of the pressure that's already in the boiler. But you can see it's pretty dark out here. Sun's gone down again. So we're going to do a lot of the switching in the dark. Unfortunately, sometimes that's just the way it is. As we get further away here, you can start to see why the red light, or why I've got the red light in the caboose, because that will show that the line is actually blocked. Okay, and we are starting to build pressure again. So we're going to put the cordwood in this far line, and we're going to put the log cars in this first line. Now the reason I want to do that, go the right way, the reason I want to do that is because we're going to be using a lot more of the lumber than we are of the cordwood, for the most part. So we're going to pick up the cordwood first, and we're going to put it over in that line. Okay, we're going to come up and couple this real nice and easy. And we're there. Now this train is going to just do whatever it wants with this locomotive, because this locomotive is only about the same weight as one of those cars. So you're going to get to see this little locomotive slide around a little bit. Now, traction and wheel slip are not implemented on all locomotives, and to the best of my understanding, this is one of the locomotives that it is not applied to. It is not implemented with. So wheel slip is not a thing that I know of for this locomotive, so we really don't need the sand either. But were we to need the sand on a regular basis, this locomotive would be taken down to the main depot on this line and resanded. If we get going too fast, this guy's just going to slide right on through wherever I want to stop him. So we're going to go ahead and switch that up there, and we should be ready to come back. Now we're going to have to use the map to see where we're at on this, because I can't see that car at all. Okay, go ahead and start slowing down, and we're just going to watch the map for a minute as we wait for this last car here to clear the switch, so we do not have yet another derailment today. Alright, now let's ease up on the brakes so that we don't just go sliding, which we are now doing. Wonderful. Like I said, this train is markedly heavier than the locomotive, so it's just going to do whatever it wants to this locomotive. Which is why ultimately we're going to get the larger locomotive. Yeah, it looks like we're already getting close to being in the siding, so hopefully we're not just pushing these into another derailment. Although I did try not to bury these tracks when I was laying them down. Well, it looks like we're going to pass fairly easily. But yeah, you can see it's just going to do whatever it wants. If you'll notice, the wheels on the locomotive are not even moving anymore. Just took the brake off a little bit. Let's see where we're at. And we're right near the edge, so it should be stopping here soon. Now with the sun coming up, you're going to be able to see a lot better what I was talking about with this locomotive just being so light that it can't really control the train under it. And were traction actually implemented, I can imagine we just see this locomotive, small as it is, would just be slipping and sliding trying to get this train moving, this log train here. Alright, so turn my lantern off because we can see again. And we're going to watch this train get moving here. And it will get moving eventually. And like I said on my last episode, it doesn't get moving very fast very quickly when it's under such a heavy load. And you can kind of see what I meant. It will get going, it will get up to its top speed, but it takes quite a ways. So it's a nice little locomotive, it's just not as powerful as it needs to be. Okay, we're going to go ahead and brake it. Just get it slowed down, hopefully. Let it roll a little bit. I think we're going back uphill. Apply the brakes. Once we're clear, I see that we're clear of that switch. We'll go ahead and stop eventually. Okay. And And we'll just go ahead and slide here for a little ways, because we've got no way of stopping. Okay, now let's get going forward. Maybe. There we go. I think now you can see kind of why I want to buy a larger locomotive, and we'll get to that point here in a little bit. Okay, these cars are probably going to end up bumping the stop up here, because there's not really a way that I can get slowed down any faster. Well, maybe not. Maybe we're going to get lucky here. Let's see if we can't manage to bring it to a stop right at the same point. Nope. Okay. Well, it was worth a shot. Pretty close, though. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the porter here, and we're going to put it up in the yard instead of putting it back in the shed, because we're not quite done with it. We're going to put it over in the refueling depot and set it there, and we're going to run back with the Montezuma, and we're going to get the rest of the train, or the rest of the rolling stock. Okay, so with the porter put back in the fueling station, we're going to go ahead and grab the Montezuma and head back to the main depot. So let's go ahead and set our switches for what we need. There we go. And we're going to run on the correct line so that we can just go on back and pick up our rolling stock. And with the boiler cold, I'm going to need to put some fuel on this fire in fairly short order. And hopefully we've got enough steam to get back there. I think we should have. Well, that worked out about perfect. Okay, now that we're back here, we're going to go ahead and start slowing down so that we can pick up our rolling stock, and we're just going to haul both of them at the same time. Now we may need to wait on our pressure to build back up, but that shouldn't be too much of a wait. As it is, we've still got about 50 pounds of pressure, and we are approaching boiling point now for the water. So by the time we get done with our switching here, we should be ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and take that brake off too. That way we can just run with it. Yep, and we're building pressure, so we're good to go. We didn't have a repeat of our last episode. We just had all new problems. But that's a good thing. So the way the economy works in this game is that if you were to take, say, those logs that we've got waiting on us to take up to the sawmill, if you were to take those and sell those here at the depot, you would get probably around half or less than half of what you would get for taking them to the sawmill and then bringing the finished product back to the depot. Which is the main reason why I was able to get so much rolling stock between this episode and the previous episode. Because 3 deliveries gained me around $3,000 in game for the purchase of rolling stock. And we're going to do a couple of deliveries of each. They're going to be cut out for the most part, but we're going to do a couple of deliveries of each, and we're going to get. Damn it! Oh, that's going to be a problem. Yep. Guess what? I screwed up. Oh, this is going to hurt. Bonk. Oh, what a mess. And our tender's running away. This is pretty. I did not intend to do this, but if it works, it works. So we got a little bit of work to do. Okay, well, today, I know what this episode's going to get called. We're going to go run after our tender here. That stopped. And we're going to bring it back here. And we're going to re-rail it on the correct line. So just do that, turn it around, and we're going to do this for pretty much everything. We'll have everything set out, planned out, and it all goes haywire. Story of my life, that's for sure. Okay. Bring this back here. Put it on this line. We're going to put this one back here. That's nice. That's not where I want it to go. So we're going to bring it back here. Maybe. I have to bring it back here. Good Lord. We have to bring it that far. Okay. Let's see if it'll roll. The answer is no. Dang it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and shorten the distance that we've got to do this. We're going to back onto our train once more. I'm going to set that switch correctly, and it already is from the looks of it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and back down on our train again. Get everything hooked back up. I can't believe that happened. Okay, and I've got the brakes taken off of that, I do believe. So we're going to come back and we're going to pick up that car back there. That truthfully was not my intent, so. But when we get up here, we're going to decouple the train from the caboose, and we're going to put these 2 log cars on between them. And we are rolling once again. Let's see if we can manage to not do that again. Another derailment. That's the last thing we need. So what we're going to do is the same as last time. We're going to pull it up, pull the locomotive and the caboose up, and we're going to switch in the empty cars into the yard. While pretending that nobody here at the lumberyard would have seen that little catastrophe. Oh well. And we're going to pull down here just as far as possible because we actually need to pull the porter in here as well. So let's get a little further here. A little further in that direction, thank you. And it should come to a stop. Okay, I don't think we got enough room here. No, we might. It'll be tight, but we might. Yeah, we're rolling backwards. We're rolling backwards because we're on a slope. Yeah, I don't think we're going to have enough room for that. Dang it. But I do know what we can do. Okay, let's go back here and turn this off. And continue backing up. Now this would be a reasonably sized train for this little locomotive. In fact, I think this would be a more realistic sized train than the 6 of the larger cars. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to play jockey here and switch the Montezuma and the tender over to the fueling depot. Now, as the sun goes down, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the rest of the switching maneuvers, and I will rejoin you when the sun comes back up. Okay, well, that was unexpected. I had to take off from recording, so I have actually not moved a bit since I left you guys. And now the sun's going down, and I'm just going to go, just real quick, I'm going to let you guys know what's going on. I just got fiber optic in my house, and they are working on getting it buried. So that's what happened, and we're just going to go ahead and take care of moving these while the sun's still up. Alrighty, the sun's starting to come up again, so it looks like we're just about ready to dive back into this. So we're going to put the porter away, and we're going to go back and get the Montezuma once more. And we're going to make a couple of runs out to the sawmill to try and gain a little bit of product in the output side. Okay, let's go ahead and switch this guy back into his stall, and we'll be ready to roll. Or ready to go and pick up the Montezuma, as the case may be. Okay. I'll turn my lamp off. Go ahead and close the doors. Well, wait a minute. Let's go ahead and turn the lights off. We're not going to need this guy again today. Let's see how much water we got left. Oh, looks like we need to fill him up with water next time. I think everything's right. Yep. Okay. So when we come back, we're actually going to come back on the line that we're getting ready to switch onto now, and we're just going to reload the lumber. We're going to switch back over onto the outline at the second set of switches so that we're more directly in line with the loading dock on our way back in. Okay, and this is a heavy load of logs going uphill, so it's going to take us a little while to get started. So let's just double check, make sure all of our switches are in line, and they are. Let's see. Okay. Let's have our through lines set up. Okay. Alright, we should be good to go. Well, we were supposed to go down the center line. We'll switch that now and make that right for next time. There we go. Okay, so we're coming up to the drop side of the sawmill. Now typically in real life this lagoon would be absolutely packed full of logs. But in game I guess it makes sense that it can only handle so much. So we have to limit ourselves to only 100. I'm going to move forward back the other direction a little bit because I overshot the landing. Okay, and we're going to get as many of these as we can. We can't do that one yet. So, go back to this one and move on back. See, once you get everything set up, it goes by fairly quickly. Now we can make probably about 3 more trips like that and be good to go. Now since we've got all of our switches set up for our return trip, and we'll only have to worry about the switches on our trip back out, we're going to take a look at the line from a rather unique vantage point, and we're actually, while we're running here, we're going to climb up into the caboose. Helps if I can close the door. Now this stove actually functions, but this is a view that not very many people get to see. And if we come over here to the other side, we'll be able to see the train a little bit better. Now this is a rather unique little position to be in, because we can actually set the brake from inside, and on those days where it's just absolutely pouring rain, we wouldn't even have to get out of the caboose in a situation like this just to help slow down or stop the train. It's actually a nice little view. I can honestly envy some of the old brakemen that were on these trains. They got probably the best view in the house. Alright. So with that, let's go ahead and head on back to the... Doors in this game are janky, I'll tell you. Okay, let's go ahead and head on back to the locomotive. Roll right on by our train of state cars there. And once we get some more money and this line gets a little bit more populated, I can imagine that those two lines there in the center, and possibly the far line as well, are going to be fairly well populated with trains waiting to be taken either up the mountain or down into the valley further from both directions. There's actually multiple industries on the other side of the lake that we haven't even begun to explore yet. There's only 3 going up this line that we can get to, so we're going to have to build out the line on the other side of the lake if we want to get to the rest of them. Alright, so as we come up to our loading point here at the lumberyard, you can actually see a little bit better of a view of the switchbacks here. Now here in a couple, 3 episodes possibly, we're going to be using those a little bit more often as we go to start delivering cargo up there and taking cargo away. But for now, we've got our logs that we can deal with. And I'm going to go down here and I'm going to set the brake on this. We're not, since the caboose is behind us, we're not going to use it. But we're going to do something a little bit different on our return trip, and you're going to understand why I like to keep the caboose behind me on some of these trips. Or rather on our next trip, not our return trip. We're still going to be attached on our return trip. And just a little bit of full disclosure here, we are going to get a few more cabooses, and we're going to utilize those for different trains. We're going to put them on different trains. But basically what you're going to see is a setup about like this, where if I need to do any sort of switching, I'm going to be attached to the uh, caboose for one length of one leg of the trip, and for the next time around, I'm going to be attached to the actual train itself. Alrighty, I went ahead and just skipped the loading process on this, but you can see now why I had the caboose right behind the tender for the trip out. Now, it's popular to see the locomotive facing forward, and a lot of times that's what usually ends up happening. But in cases where there's not a turntable available and all you can do is run around, this is a pretty typical view. I forgot to switch everything, so we're just going to go ahead and switch that back. But yeah, that's a pretty typical view running down the line. To see a engine back to front, or a locomotive back to front, with the caboose at the far end of the train. Now, I can, if I want to, stop and turn this locomotive around, but it really wouldn't do me much good, because one way or another I'm going to be back behind the caboose here in a minute anyway. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that, and I'll go ahead and cut here, and we'll go ahead and catch up to you when I start delivering the finished lumber. Alright, so with our first load of cut lumber in the cars here, we're going to go ahead and get started on building up enough funds to get our second locomotive for the lumber yard, and we're going to get some more rolling stock to go with it, so it's not just going up there light engine. Now, as I said in the previous video and earlier in this video, I'm planning on getting that 060 tank engine, and we're going to be naming it the Big Beetle. Kind of goes along with the theme of the names of the locomotives on that part of the line, but it's kind of a fun little name, and I figured it would go pretty good with Little Bug. So when we get done with, I think, 2 or 3 of these loads, we should be just about ready to go ahead and purchase that locomotive and some rolling stock. And I'll get back with you here in case anything happens, or when we get to that point. Okay, so this load should give us enough to get at least a little bit of rolling stock along with the tank engine. So once we get unloaded, we'll go ahead and go into the buy screen, or the purchasing page, and we will go ahead and customize the locomotive and buy it. I don't think, however, that we're going to have enough to get very much rolling stock on this session, so perhaps I'll do some running sessions off screen or off camera, and get some more rolling stock. And maybe the next episode we'll do some building out of the railway a little bit. We'll get those 3 industries up on top of the mountain connected up with this line. But for now, I think this is going to be the last load for the day. Okay, so that last load gave us just enough to get the locomotive. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the Montezuma away. And we're going to go into the buy page. And we're going to go ahead and get the locomotive. Okay. So we're just going to back the locomotive in. And we're going to be done for the day. Just got to go and purchase the locomotive that we're planning on getting today, and I think we're gonna leave it there. Alright, go ahead and douse the light. And we'll head over here to the depot, just for fun. And we'll go into the buy page. So, we're looking at getting the Baldwin D22D. So let's go ahead and go in and customize it. And we're going to go with the matching paint job for the locomotive. And I think we're going to go probably with this smokestack right here. And let's see, what would be a good number? How about 15? See if that'll work with it. Helps if I can spell. Yeah, that looks good. Number 15, the Big Beetle. Goes right along with number 45, the Little Bug. Or 44 with the Little Bug, one of the two. Yeah, it's 44 or 45, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but this will go right along with it. Alright, so we now have our new locomotive. Let's just check our water situation here. We've got no water. And we should have plenty of sand, but we've got no water in here. So we're going to go ahead and fill it up, but we're going to go ahead and call it a day. So thank you once again for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys next time.